Let's talk about what separates thrivers from the rest. If we have thrivers in this market, well, let's get in and figure out what separates them from the rest. Well, there's two things that separate thrivers from the rest. One is attitude. Attitude isn't everything. I know a lot of motivational speakers will say, attitude's everything. Attitude isn't everything. And I want to give you a tangible example of that. Let's say I have the attitude that I want to live to be 300 years old. And I even back up that attitude with action. I change my diet radically. I avoid risky behavior. I quit jumping out of airplanes. Am I going to make it to 300? Absolutely not. I won't even come close. Now, I might add a few days, weeks, months, if I'm lucky, a few years to my life, but I won't make it to 300. But what will happen is it will make the difference in how I live my life. So attitude is the difference maker that separates thrivers from the rest. And in the hurry to get set up here, we didn't have out, but I want to grab you a couple book examples that I have for you. And I got to tell you, I don't receive endorsements on these books. Don't come up to me asking to buy them. I didn't bring a whole box. This is my book. You can't have it. But it's called The Difference Maker, and it's from John Maxwell. And if you're an executive, you need to have this book. If you're an owner, you need everyone on your team to have this book. And I give you show you the book for a couple of reasons. One is it's small. There's big print. Realtors can read it, okay? This is excellent. You can get this done in a long afternoon if you want. So you need to have the difference maker. The other is Thrivers Run at Peak Performance. And we will take some time to explain what is peak performance. What separates thrivers from the rest. We'll actually break that down in specifics. You see, it's not what the market is doing that makes the difference. It's what you are doing in the market that makes the difference. We just said there are thrivers in the market. We agreed that we know or ourselves are actually thriving. And so we need to take action and responsibility for our business. You know, one thing that is missing is personal responsibility. Everybody's trying to blame somebody else. We need to get over that. We need to instill what we call the question behind the question in our business. We need to apply this. If we're a broker owner, we need to apply this within our office. From the region stand, we need. So let's just say we're a broker and we're concerned about our business. Instead of saying, gosh, what can Ken Durkee do to grow my business? The question behind the question needs to be, what can I do to grow the region for Ken Durkee? We take personal responsibility for where we are in our business. We take personal responsibility for our productivity. If you're an executive, you don't say, what can my broker do to grow my business? That's the wrong question. The question is, what can I do to grow my broker's business? What if everyone on your team had that mindset? What would happen? Productivity would go up. There's another great book. This is the last one today. If you come tomorrow, sorry, broker owners, you're going to have a couple other book recommendations. Another thin book, The Question Behind the Question, John G. Miller. It helps companies, it helps teams to apply this. What you do is you take the concept of what or how, you place I, and you place a reaction or action behind how can you solve a problem. It's an excellent mindset we need to do. You see, action is needed. Positive attitude isn't enough. I mentioned even with me, if I want to live to 300, I have to do some action. We need to take action. We need to change what we're doing. We need to plan for growth and execute on those key activities. And we'll break down what those are. Most of us, and I tell my clients this, I do one-on-one coaching. I also do sales training and consulting. If somebody's coming to me for one-on-one coaching, I'll talk with them about their potential. And here's the reality. Most of us run at about 50 to 60% of our true potential. 50 to 60%. Now, some of you are insulted by that. No, that's good news. Why? Because there's more of you. There's more potential that exists. And what happens is we get in the way of our own success. I'll guarantee when we sit down and we start talking about your success or where you want to see yourself, there are barriers that you put up. Maybe it's self-talk. Maybe it's self-limitation. But there are areas within your life that could be better if you got out of the way of yourself. And that's one of the keys that we help our clients. You see, we are wired for unlimited potential, and what usually happens that gets in the way is attitude. And I want to share with you a story of a client of mine. She's a broker owner let's see, there she is. I knew she was there. Her name is Michelle. When I first spoke with Michelle, she's a broker owner for Realty Executives in Indiana. And I spoke with her in early '08, and when I talked with her, Michelle was wanting to sell her business. She was wanting to quit. Now, how many of you honestly have had that thought? Has that thought crossed your mind, right, in the last year or so? It's a natural thought or concept. Michelle had this attitude that she was going to quit. And so what I did was started to ask a series of questions to get to know her better. It's just like you do or need to do with your prospects, your sellers or buyers, or if you're recruiting with your prospective agents. So I started to ask her a series of questions, and here's what I found out about Michelle. Number one, Michelle was the top agent in her market. Number one. Number two, she was the broker owner of the largest franchised office in her market. Number three, she owned the listings on the largest subdivision in her area. Now, if that wasn't enough to stay in, Honda was moving or building an assembly plant in her area, creating an extra 2,000 jobs. And this is early 2008. I'll catch you up to date on the whole market thing. They were moving in. So in asking all those questions, I found that out about her. Now, I didn't create those opportunities for her. She did. She allowed her attitude, though, and no matter how successful we are, we can allow, if we're not careful, our attitude to fail to see the opportunities and the problems. We see the problems and the opportunities. So after a little further conversation, she ended up hiring me into our one-on-one coaching program. And a follow-up story, she ended up having her best year ever. And one of the things I told her before hiring was, instead of selling at this point, to go instead and reap the benefits that were all in front of her and then sell her business when she didn't need to. You know, like the old concept, let's sell high, right? Instead of sell low. That's the whole concept. We want to buy low, we want to sell high. So she took me up on that. She ended up having her best year ever. And then this year, in this summer, early summer, she came to me and she said, you're never going to guess what happened. And I said, what? Somebody came to me and offered me a price I couldn't refuse for my practice. I wasn't even wanting to sell at that time. So I didn't say I told you so, but she ended up selling her business. She kept her building, and she's in a great position. But she allowed and changed her attitude to see the potential that existed within her business, and she reaped those benefits.